welcome to the continuing set of webcasts, 15 minutes or so sessions, as part of our brief introduction to XBRL's Global Ledger Taxonomy Framework, XBRL GL. This webcast is going to be focusing on XBRL GL's amazing accounts. We're around halfway through our series of foundational topics. Just a brief review if you happen to be picking up a little later on. We've talked about XBRL GL and what it is, the vision of XBRL broadly, that a piece of business information, once it hits any computer anywhere, never needs to be retyped as it moves from first transaction throughout an organization, shared with close parties, and then is prepared for external reporting and reused from then on. That XBRL GL is a taxonomy framework, and we'll review that in just a sec as well. Although it is GL, it is not just the general ledger. It is a global ledger, representing information from ERP systems in all regional aspects and around the world. Ledger being any type of information from the general ledger to subledgers and details. Not just accounting, but operations, management, external reporting, anything necessary to help make that vision possible. Not limited to accounting, not limited to financial, not limited to numbers, but with a very unique selling proposition even amongst other standards of a similar ilk, reconciliation. Reconciliation between standards, reconciliation book to tax, reconciliation between countries, reconciliation management, anything else, being able to do concurrent set of books and reconcile them. XBRL GL is a framework built on XBRL, a little different than the design most people expect. It is about standardizing data fields and not data points. It is made up of a series of modular taxonomies anchored by the core module. It has a hierarchical structure that also makes up that framework. We're going to be looking at that hierarchical structure as we speak about our building block today. And it has been made to be expanded with the Global Ledger Taxonomy Framework technical architecture. The modules, again, our core module being home to our topic today of account and being the foundation, additional business facts, US, UK, advanced accounting, multi-currency, tax audit, additional concepts, and summary reporting contextual data for unambiguous linking within reporting. So we've gone through a series that helped explain most of these first set of items. Our last one was on enumerations that we'll be building on today. But today we're going to be building on our series of building blocks, parts of the XBRL taxonomy that help in representing many different areas. Today's focus is on amazing accounts. In upcoming weeks, we'll be speaking about our customers, vendors, employees, and other parties that we call our identifiers, things that are consumed and produced and exchanged and traded and tracked in measurables, job costing, summarized reporting concepts, and others. But as I mentioned, today's focus is on accounts. Our agenda will be to speak about the account structure, and accounts is a structure in the XBRL GL taxonomy framework. Accounts, as with everything else in XBRL GL, is
here is Allison again.
To represent a much broader group of things than most people would understand. The concept of accounting, even in the broad sense of accounting systems, the word account is often regionally constrained and globally used for much more than any one region expects. And there are other things that we also use the term account for that's also included. And finally, we'll talk about how this building block can be used for representing information individually associated with account structures and other building blocks. So we begin talking about the account structure. I mentioned, as we have previously, that XBRL begins as all XBRL files within a tag beginning and ending XBRL. We then have our virtual root with one to an infinite number of accounting entry structures, each being a batch of XBRL GL information. Although the word accounting is there, that was something that came in a long time ago as part of our international agreement with the hope to use terms that you could look up in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, but not limited to accounting. It's just a batch of something. We have our document information section, our entity information section, and finally we have our entry headers, each representing some particular grouping of information. Within entry headers, we have entry details. Within entry details, we have our account structure. And each line of entry detail can have 0 to an infinite number of these account structures. And a little later on, we'll talk about why you may want to have more than one account structure within the same entry detail line. When we look at the account structure, we see that there's approximately 20 to 30 different things here, related first to the main account number, moving to sub-account information, moving to segment parents and roll-ups, and activity flags. And we have some other sections that you can go, and other webcasts available at gl.ifx.net, where we'll be going into more detail. Again, this is just a brief overview. So as we have an account, and we think perhaps of the traditional accounting used in a large organization, we may think of a multi-tiered account, beginning with the primary accounts such as utilities, and then having different segments representing different breakdowns for reporting. For example, the Northeast Division, represented by Code 302, the General Profit Center, the Sales Department 107, and a government project. All these things come together to represent an account that might be used. How these things tie then to our taxonomy, our main account number and description, you'll see coming from the top. Sub-accounts, that repeatable structure for the different tiers for the divisions, the profit centers, the departments, and the projects. And at the least, XBRL GL's accounts were designed to be able to represent these complex reporting structures and multiple concurrent reporting trees. That's that segment parent information, all the different roll-ups you might want for different types of reporting and accountability. And this was inspired in particular by a product called FRX, Financial Reporting Extender, that group being an early XBRL participant. But when we say accounts, it's more than financial accounts that roll to financial reporting, and the reporting segments, and maybe even statistical accounts, the things that you'd normally expect to be in a typical general ledger around the world. The answer to the question, do you know what account I'm supposed to record this to? To other meanings for the word account, and most of us use the word account when we speak about our bank account, or a customer account, or a vendor account, or investment account. And the accounts in XBRL GL can be used to also represent these. So when we say we have debited your account, customer, or vendor bank, we may be speaking about a customer account, a vendor account, and these can be represented with the XBRL GL account structure. When we talk about the bank accounts we're going to be putting deposits into, or even when we speak at something at a much higher level, such as make sure to post your accounts, lodge your accounts on a timely basis with the standard business reporting in Australia, or with HMRC in Companies House. So the word account has a much broader meaning than we may think of in financial reporting, and XBRL GL can represent all those. In our last webcast, we spoke about enumerations, and in our account structure, we use the enumerated field account type to help identify whether an account is representing a typical general ledger type of account in this accounting sense, or bank accounts, or employee accounts, or customers, or vendors, or statistics, or things that you'd find in the measurable structure. And we have other enumerations as well that help make sure that we understand what we're representing. An IFRS account, a US GAAP account, a Japanese account, and many others. And for greater understanding of enumerations, I encourage you to find that enumeration webcast, or go to our working group notes and find elaborating on enumerations that'll help you in this area. So we've talked a little bit about XBRL GL and the use of account as a structure. Let's talk about its use as a building block. These building blocks work mostly at the entry detail level to help us to be able to build generic structures that can represent all of the information from beginning to end. And why would we want to associate accounts Well, on the screen you can see many different places where within entry detail we may want to say how accounts relate to accounts. Those of you who set up accounting systems may be told that when you set up a certain account for your sales, you need to have an offsetting or associated cost of sales account. Perhaps you have a U.S. GAAP account. You want to map it to an IFRS account. Or you want to have other kinds of simultaneous reporting with reconciliation. XBRL GL lets you not only have accounts but also associate them with very specific types of accounting and reporting. You may want to associate an account, one of the main accounts, with multiple master files for sub-accounts to identify permissible combinations of primary and sub-accounts. If you're familiar with XBRL's dimensions at the reporting level, where you can have the all and not all relationships to say which dimensions work with primary items and which don't, XBRL GL also has its way of representing that, and of course can associate all this with dimensions as well. But it does it at the detailed level. We can associate GL accounts with customer accounts. We already spoke about default sales and cost of goods sold accounts. Let's now take that and go one step more and say these are the accounts that you use for a specific customer on a default basis. We can map accounts to accounts with customers being mapped to other customers, such as identifying buying groups. And the kinds of examples of being able to take these and associate with them each other just goes on. Of course, when we speak about accounting and financial reporting, one of the most important things we'd expect is being able to take an account and associate it with end reporting concepts. As we talk about being able to report in U.S. GAAP and IFRS or any number of regional GAAPs and international standards, the association of an account with its reporting, summary reporting concept using the XBRL info structures will let you set up various mappings and then be able to do reconciliations. This is something that we've seen in any number of tools that are coming out and that you'll be hearing about that help you see the impact of your accounting in different types of reporting that you have to work with. So at the organization level, you can define all of your relevant methods of accounting. At the entry level, you can create your defaults. You can do reconciliations over multiple sets of books. And on the screen, you can see many different things that will help us to fully identify all the different accounting methods and the purposes as part of our reconciliation process. Again, going into this in a little bit more detail will be available in upcoming sessions that we hope that you'll enjoy. So accounts live at the entry detail level. A single entry detail may hold 0 to an infinite number of these. The accounts using the enumerations can identify for their purpose. Multiple accounts can co-inhabit for association and can work with other building blocks that we'll be speaking in upcoming weeks. So depending on your style of accounting, some countries include things like customers and vendors as part of the account structure. The chart of accounts, you look at accounts receivable and that gets broken down for the customers. You look at the accounts payable, that's broken down for vendors. And that's part of the reason to make sure that you could represent these as part of the account in the chart of accounts in that broader sense. So you have these choices, your general ledger accounts, your bank statistical accounts. These are part of the account structures one way or the other. But because customers and vendors and sometimes employees are part of the accounting structure in some places, but aren't, they are part of subledgers in others, you have the choice, including them within the account structure using the appropriate enumerations, or using the related specific subledger structure, such as the identifier reference for customers, vendors, and employees. Likewise, jobs, likewise inventory, they can be built into the account structure, they can be included in the subledger, or you can even put them in both. Again, the reason to put them into both is that ability to hold additional detail, the interrelationships, the roll-ups that may be helpful and important. XBRL GL lets them all work together. So this session was meant to be brief. I'll give you a little taste of what's going on with XBRL GL's amazing accounts. It is more than most people think. There's a lot more detail in the amazing account working group notes. You can see that link on the screen, or go to the XBRL.org website, click on taxonomies, hover over the global ledger, and then you'll see working group notes, and you can find out much more about XBRL GL there. And again, we'll have more webcasts, we'll have upcoming training, and many more ways for you to find out more. As always, we encourage your questions. Come to the website, xbrl.org/GL taxonomy, or go to Taxonomies, Global Ledger Taxonomy. Learning resources website, the website where you can see webcasts and more detail at gl.ifix.net. Our mailing list, groups.yahoo.com/group/XBRLGLpublic. And of course, please feel free to send an email right to our chair at xbrlgl@xbrl.org. So thank you once again for joining us for our introductory sections, our foundational sections on XBRL GL. This time around, XBRL GL's amazing accounts, and we hope this has been helpful for you.